Welcome to the Tangent, gentlemen, where each week we start with a topic from the previous episode, and then Scott and I go where the conversation takes us. Along the way, we'll have question ideas or disagreements that will spark tangents, and we have Chris in the back keeping track of those tangents. At the end of the discussion, we'll pick one of those tangents for next week's discussion. And tonight, Scott, we have censorship.
Okay, this will be a good one.
And it's not surprising that censorship came out of last week's topic on morals.
Yes, I would agree. It was seemed to be a natural outgrowth tangent, if you will.
Yeah.
To talk about that. Yeah. So
I'm going to ask you a question to start off. Is that cool?
Sure.
So what do you categorize as censorship? Like, what actually counts as censorship?
It's curious you say that, because I I wrestled with that question today, and I asked my wife and my son, my older son, and they both agreed that a common trait is some commentary, provision, exclusion, but there has to be a power dynamic involved. Someone of power has to oppose a restriction or something on another person's presentation. So something that is, I guess, to me, it tends to be restriction of usually an artistic endeavor, with a very broad definition of what artistic endeavor means. Yeah, by someone in a position of power. Yeah. What about you?
I agree. I always think of burning books. That's the first thing that comes to mind. You have people burning books, or you have. I think Neil brought up last week some of the censorship around early rap albums or hip hop albums.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with that. But then I kind of got sucked into how it's changed so much with the invention of the internet.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was kind of like, okay, so where do we start with this? Because, you could talk about some historical, probably books would be the easiest to do that were banned. But, I was thinking that I don't see this being a conversation about is censorship good or bad. I think it's more about like, we talked to one of our other, I can't even remember what the topic was, but, we kind of, by the end of it, we kind of agreed this is not a binary system, it's a spectrum. And it's kind of the same here. Like where do lines fall? Mm-hmm. Where do you draw the line in the sand, and who gets to draw that line in the sand?
Right. Yeah, and I think that's where I like I said, I spent it was fine. I was a good couple hours going down the rabbit hole of looking at sort of historical precedents, because I was like you, like my first thought, just in my own life experience, books being banned. And then music, we both were of an age that we were around when it's amazing to me historically. It was Al Gore's wife. She was the head of the PMRC, the music restriction group, the Parental Music Resource Center, I think they called themselves. Yeah. They were the ones that were banning. They were the ones that were advocating restricting access to music, predominantly hip hop and rap. Yeah. And putting stickers on albums, that like these are explicit lyrics. Yeah. And so that's my first inclination. So when I was talking to my son about it, who has a music degree, he said, he said, I can take you, he said, I don't know how deep you want to go in the music on history on this, Dad, but it goes all the way back to, and he went on the piano and he played this chord for me. And he said, this is the chord that the church accepted. And when people introduced this chord, they were censored. Like that other chord, which is, more music than I do, but so
there's a chord change.
Yeah.
There's a chord change that I think is called, and I don't think I'm totally making this up. I got it from somewhere, but there's a chord change that's called the devil's chord.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Okay.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a fourth, if I'm remembering this right, it's the first, fourth, and seventh note in a particular octave.
And it's pretty cool.
Because he played it, and I was like, yeah, that does sound like the devil's chord. Wow, that's cool. But yeah, that's exactly it. But that, he said, in the history of music, that was one of the first censored things. Like, you can't introduce that chord into your music because it's not, I mean, both it's dissonant, it's very irregular because it's not a first, third, and a fifth. It's not a spacing like that.
It just sounds way too cool. It has to be bad.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly. And so they made it, satanic. It was the devil's chord. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
So when was that? Did he say? Like,
he said it was medieval, like 1400s, 1500s. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I've heard of that. I've heard that term, the devil's chord, or the devil's chord change or something, but I never knew the history of it. That's cool.
Yeah. And then we went on through, and the one I always heard, so you weren't raised Catholic, but in the Catholic Church, you are not allowed to play the bridal march. The Here Comes the Bride. You can't play that in a Catholic wedding.
Really?
Yeah, you can't. It's not allowed. And the reason, it's really twofold. One is most Catholic churches do not allow you to play non-church music during an official ceremony, during an official Catholic ceremony. You're not allowed to, it's secular, you're not allowed to play secular music. But moreover, that music that people think of as Here Comes the Bride was written by Wagner, the German composer, as part of the Ring Cycle trilogy. And Wagner was a known anti-Semite and would have been a Nazi but he was a little too early to be a Nazi. But the Nazi regime adopted Wagner as the embodiment of true German music. So he was kind of like their poster child for Nazi music.
Yeah.
And so subsequently, the Catholic Church was like, yeah, we're not playing that here. And it's part, they say it's just secular, that it's secular, so we don't play that during church. But it's also the fact that it's kind of Nazi. I mean, it has serious Nazi history overlays. So, but yeah, that's completely not allowed. You cannot play Here Comes the Bride. Still. I mean, yeah. Yeah, it's not allowed. So that's censorship, right? So,
yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
I mean, that's it. So
then I got on another idea. Well, before we move to that, one of the recent things that came to me was with, you heard a lot about Harry Potter books being taken out of libraries and elementary schools, maybe even high schools. I don't remember. I just remember there was a lot around the Harry Potter books. And, you think, thinking myself, like, those are, where is there any harm in those books? It was the witchcraft, right?
Right.
Yeah.
The sorcery part.
They were witches. Can you hear that? Can you hear that humming? Yeah,
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Is that me or you?
I don't know. All right. Sorry about that break. We had something humming in the headphones, and I hope it's not too distracting on the podcast. But we'll get started here again.
So we're talking about Harry Potter. So, like, when was it removed? And the fact that it was removed, I mean, I think it was just a sense of the witchcraft. Like, people were threatened by the witchcraft. So I don't know. I mean, I thought it was a great story personally.
Oh,
reading it with my kids. So
and it was definitely one that kids love to read, so it got a lot of kids into reading. Yeah.
So you said you started looking at the idea of, more current things. It seemed to me that I almost felt like if we assume that we're going to presume all positive intentions on this part of this, the role of censorship is a protective avenue to protect citizenry, children, whoever, from, untoward negative influences. It seems to me like presuming that was the case, I don't know that I don't really believe that, but let's presume that is the case. It seems to me that with the age of the internet, like the proverbial horse is way out of the barn. We're not even close to trying to do anything to protect kids from what's going on the internet and all the social media and all the. It just seems like the rate at which everything is changing, we don't begin to have any means to regulate and to be aware of and protect kids from things that they should be protected from. Do you agree with that, or do you feel like am I just being an old man when I say that?
No, I agree with that. I mean, I think, kids can find anything on the internet, and, if they don't have somebody kind of trying to help them filter through that, which, I guess, again, if we can come back. I wrote down intent because that'll be an interesting topic to talk about. But if we consider that everyone has good intent and we're trying to filter through, because basically that's what censorship is, right? Trying to filter through what's appropriate and not for whoever. Yeah. I mean, we could call it a filter. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we have a good handle on that, and there's really I would say there's really no censorship. I kind of had to wrap my mind around this, and I think there's more moderating when you talk about internet and social platforms. I like that. That's a good description. Yeah, anything can be put out there. Yeah. Now, some platforms try to manage it once it's out there. It might be deleting it, or it might be just minimizing who sees it, know. And then you get into the whole other avenue that we've talked about with the roles that algorithms play in that. Right. So if people want to see it and they make it engaging, it's recognized as an engaging post or an engaging video or whatever it might be, it's going to go. Yeah. Well, and to your point about what is, like you described, you said moderation, which I like that description. It seemed that one of the approaches to censorship that seems to be common or commonly accepted is sort of this user identified, like the Meta, the Facebook, whoever the overlords are in this medium, these respective mediums, their response is, well, users will identify what's inappropriate. And they feel as if they've met their responsibility on that. And as much as I am anti-censorship, I do think, I don't know, we both raise children. It always puzzled me when my kids were 12 or 13 and they would come home and say, hey, so-and-so's dad let them watch The Godfather. Can we watch The Godfather? Which is one of my absolute favorite movies. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no, you're 12. Yeah. The things that make The Godfather great, a 12-year-old's not going to understand. Yeah. And you don't need to see, and I'm not like, I'm not really a person. I don't think I was, as a parent, was like, oh, I'm going to protect my children from all things that are real world. But you don't need to see that. You don't need to, you're not, and it always baffled me, the people that allowed their kids in formative years in that 10 to 16 year window, based upon what my kids were telling. Like, my kids never played. I was never really a big video game person. Yeah. But once my kids got video games, I kind of laid down the rules and said, yeah, we're not going to play any first-person shooter games. We're just not. Yeah. You can play sports games, you can play puzzle-solving games, whatever, but you're not going to play any, we're just not going to do that. And because I don't think, my personal experience is people are too, and I think you and we have different opinion on this, which is fine. The
level that people have with guns, I think is a real problem, and because I don't think they have responsibility of being a gun owner that they have with their familiarity or access to guns.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm not blaming video games, but I feel like there should have been a little bit more parental censorship, if you will, of access to certain violent games and subsequently violent movies. I don't think a 12-year-old needs to see RoboCop, or something. But I also know I've read stories about Quentin Tarantino talks about the movies he saw when he was 9.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. When I've got 2 things written down. I don't know which one to go to first, but since we're on this, but so I think most parents. I mean, we all want to be good parents. We want to introduce our children to things that are appropriate to them and things that they can understand and they can work through. And I think we all do that, which is a form of censorship.
Right.
So I would think, and I was going to see if you agree, I would think most people would agree that there is some level of censorship that's needed for children, probably all the way through high school.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. There needs to be some guardrails.
But then you get into, and you just pointed it out with, you made it real understandable with video games and the wide variance of what parents think is okay for children with video games. You're going to have the same with anything in school, movies, books. So you get to that, the age-old idea with censorship. Who is it that gets to decide? So I think most people would agree there probably is some social responsibility when you're talking about, let's say, 16 and younger. I don't know if you want to put age on it. I mean, but you're trying to put lines everywhere when you, that's what makes this such a hot topic. And then I think it even gets more complicated when you bring in going back to what it was called in the early days, www. The World Wide Web. I mean, we're talking about every culture in the world. Right. And there's just different rules all the way across the board.
Which gets back to last week's topic. I mean, morality is a cultural-based thing. So censorship would also be a cultural-based thing. What you're allowed to see when you're 14 in Japan is different than what you're allowed to see in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
And this could kind of take me back to the second word I wrote down is intent. So if we do think there's probably consensus that there's some level of social responsibility to making sure, at least when children are involved, that it's appropriate. And let's go back to Harry Potter. And some people feel very strongly that introducing children to the ideas of witchcraft, sorcery, is not the right thing to do, and they truly believe that, and they have good intentions. Because I think you could probably argue that a lot of censorship is built around good intentions. I mean, there's some, if you get into, I was getting ready to say propaganda. So is that like reverse censorship?
I think it's extreme censorship.
Yeah. So, but for the most part, I think intent is usually good. And should intent matter?
The intent of the artist or the intent of the censor?
The intent of the censor.
Yeah, I think it should matter. Because I think if we go to the, to me, when we look at sort of the current, or not the, but a current iteration of censorship, is you have people in power saying to, the one that's been prevalent a lot in the news lately or in the culture lately, saying to late night comedians, you can or cannot make these jokes. If you make these jokes, there will be consequences. Like, to me, that is a form of censorship. They're not protecting anybody. In my opinion, they're not protecting anybody from a harmful act. They're not saying, oh, children shouldn't be exposed to these jokes. They're just saying you shouldn't make those jokes because, I don't know why. They hurt my feelings. They made fun of me. They made fun of my family, whatever the rationale I think the argument they try to make is that leads to political violence.
Yeah.
This seems to be the rationale that they give, but that's such a convoluted. What's that?
Some form of stability or loss of stability. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But what's interesting about that? Isn't that basically one of the things that the American Revolution was built around? Was political expression being suppressed?
Yeah.
It's
a lot of when I started doing research, a lot of the defense of the First Amendment of freedom of speech came from the previous censorship experiences, that they wanted it stipulated that one of the freedoms in this country is the ability to say, to speak freely, to not be under censorship,
Yeah.
And so you could definitely argue that part of the reason for the revolution was to create a land where that didn't happen.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a,
and taxes.
So
then they both happened.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't taxes. It was taxation without representation. So, I'm paying you money, but you're not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think what other I got. So I don't know what else you want to get it. So I did a whole history of it, where it came from.
Yeah, let's hear a little bit of that. What would you learn in that?
So, the early, well, I won't say the earliest, but there's definitely some of the passages in the Bible are censorship based, as far as what you shouldn't do and what you shouldn't listen to and read and pay attention to. Yeah. Which I thought was interesting. Very, very old school. Even Old Testament stuff.
So like the reasoning for the censorship is based on the Bible. Is that what you mean?
In the Bible, some of the statements from the Bible are in essence censorship.
You have an example?
You shouldn't listen to. Well, let's see what I wrote down. I just have religion in general, but so this is one that is come up. I don't have any from the Bible. I'm trying to remember what the one was. It was in the.
Well, the Harry Potter example we used earlier. That I think most of the support for banning that book was religion based, wasn't it?
Yeah, but this, gosh, I wish I'd written it down. There was a citation of text from the Bible that was, in essence, censorship. Like, you shouldn't listen to, you shouldn't read, you shouldn't follow the word of these people of a certain type. But I think it was around Deuteronomy. So it was Old Testament, something to do with Moses and the proclamations of either Moses or some of his, Abraham's people that came after Moses, what they were responding to. These were the laws that were given to us, and these are the people we should or shouldn't listen to, which was identified as a sense of censorship.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think it's definitely age old.
Right. But then some of the other history, the one I thought there were examples of, which we're going to have to subtitle this colonialism or whatever we call it. The Europeans were censoring and destroying Aztec and Mayan documents in the 1500s. like not allowing people to read the documentation of their ancestors. So they were just destroying them and preventing them from being available. So, which I thought was, I didn't realize it went back that far.
Yeah.
The church, the Catholic Church maintains an index. It's Latin, but it's the Index of Biblical Prohibition. Books that the church says you should not read, which I didn't know that they kept. That's ongoing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that had like Galileo, Copernicus, some of those texts, from the Middle Ages, early Renaissance in there.
There's a lot of, Well, I mean, that started way before that and just, deciding what was going to be the Bible we read today.
Right. And curiously enough, Darwin and on the origin of the species is not on that list. I thought that was very interesting.
Huh, that is interesting.
That's not banned by the church, which I thought that was an interesting, that was not a book that was banned. So that was one thing. And then I got some notes on, this was one other history piece that I thought was really interesting, and it's come up of late in some precedent. So did you read anything about the Comstock Act?
I did. I saw that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Was that that was 1800s, right?
Yeah. 1870s. And it was basically, it's illegal. They made it illegal to sell, to distribute what was identified as obscene materials through the mail.
Yeah. That included contraceptive information.
Right. Yes.
And abortion.
And right. And so that's been used as the precedent for a lot of the legal cases of late. They're trying to outlaw, states have outlawed abortion, but you can still get the two drugs, mifepristone and the other one I can't remember the name of. They both, mifepristone and mifepristol, I think, are the two. But they're using that violation of that act to say it's illegal for states to send for drugs, for pharmacies to mail these drugs to other states. It's a violation of the Comstock Act. But the Supreme Court says, that's not what it meant. That's not. But anyway, it's interesting. I thought that was really interesting that was. And then, because it wouldn't be a podcast without mentioning Bruce Springsteen. So, do you remember Banned in the USA? Do you remember that album?
No. I know.
Okay.
I know Born in the USA.
No, Born in the USA. Okay, Born in the USA came out in '84. Springsteen album. Well, as we talked about, the Tipper Gore PMRC was starting to identify rap albums that they thought should be censored.
Yeah.
The rap band out of Miami, Two Live Crew.
Yeah.
They put out an album called Banned in the USA.
Yeah.
And it sampled a lot from Born in USA. But it basically just addressed this idea that what does the First Amendment mean if we can't say the things we want to say? So,
yeah.
And it was one of the first, it was the first album to get the explicit content sticker. So,
yeah.
I did come across that,
So you said you are very, I don't know if you said very anti censorship.
In general, I would say that's true.
Okay.
For adults.
Okay.
For adults. I mean, I do accept your premise and agree with your premise that there needs to be some restrictions to limit what children, however we define that. I think we kind of agree up until the age of 16-ish, what they have exposure to.
Yeah. And I don't know how we ever agree where that line is drawn, I mean, I like to think there's some common sense with it, but, everybody's going to have differing opinions. But what I was going to ask you, there's a lot of examples that you see of people who have been fired from their job for something they posted online.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? I know that's a blanket statement. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And I should probably preface it by saying I'm not really much of an online person.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not anti-social media. It's just not a form of communication I choose to use much. And I have a Facebook account. That's about it. Mm-hmm. I don't have Instagram or any of the other ones. I don't TikTok or whatever, but I have a Twitter account, but I don't post a whole lot. But anyway, I think I have a problem with you losing your job because of something you post on social media. Yeah. I don't understand how those dots get connected. because unless it's, an out and out threat, if I say, I want to kill my principal because he yelled at me today or reprimanded me today, that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
But if I say this event that happened in, let's presume we live in Kentucky, this event that happened in California, this is my opinion of it. I don't know I don't understand why that should be cause for me losing my job.
Yeah.
What about you?
No, I agree. I mean, I think but it can be a gray area because it crosses with what we talked about last week. Most professions have a code of ethics.
Right.
And there's a lot of gray in there. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's
there's a lot of cases of teachers, our profession, teachers that have been terminated for stuff they've posted online. And, every code of ethics does have some variation of, we need to be role models to children.
Right. Well, and I think it also, it gets at this idea that a human being can exist in two planes. I can be a teacher, a classroom science teacher, but I can also be an active member of the fill in the blank group, the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, the Social Democrats, the, Society for the, PETA, protection of animals, whatever, ethical treatment of animals, or I can be in those things. And so when I participate in social media, which of those things am I? Am I just me?
That's a great point. Because at least in our code of ethics, there was something, and I don't know the wording, but we couldn't express our political views or our political choices, let's say. We couldn't wear an elect Scott Snyder for president shirt in the classroom.
Right.
We weren't allowed to do that.
We couldn't send out emails that said, hey, I'm voting for Brad Weston. Everybody else should do the same.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think we should be able to say on Facebook or whatever, hey, get out and vote for Scott Snyder. He'll be a great president.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There's probably not a problem with that. It's probably been a problem somewhere, but it's like it's kind of gray because there's so much overlap. Because whatever social platform you're using, your students are probably on too.
Right.
And
I had this conversation literally 2 days ago with my son. My son's starting to be a teacher, and he's just starting his classes in the process. And he was saying how in one of his classes that they spent an inordinate amount of time talking about your social media presence, what you can and can't say, when you're participating in that. And he said he was just surprised that in his day, he's 25. So he said, I was just surprised at the number of questions that people ask, because it seemed as if they didn't recognize you should have a private social media presence, that your random students are not going to see the things you post unless you do it in a public format. And I don't, as I said, I have a Facebook account. I don't know how the privacy settings of all these other media work. Obviously, if I post something on Twitter, which I do have a Twitter account, I don't know that many people are even on Twitter anymore. But
I don't think there's a such thing anymore.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. It has another name that I don't use, but it's nothing to do with the owner. It's just because I'm just old. But you have to have it. And his argument was people just need to be sensible about this stuff. Like I can't go on and say I speak for all retired science teachers in Jefferson County, because you don't. You're one of one in that regard. And
common sense is not the same for everyone, though.
No, I know. And
it's not very common, as they say.
As they say, my favorite teacher in high school, Brother Julius, used to say that all the time. Why is it, gents? Common sense is the least common of all the senses. But I thought I had when you were talking about things and what people say and interpretation of them. I just feel like one of the issues that really just bugs me and blows my mind is just the nuance. People, like everything, people immediately want to take it to one extreme or the other. If you say this, you must be a blank. You must think this. Instead of saying, oh, wow, here's a person that thinks that censorship could be okay. However, it is an infringement upon artistic freedom. And there's a point where censorship should not be allowed in certain medium and in certain formats. Like that's a nuanced argument I'm speaking of myself, that I make of that point, that I do think censorship has a place in regulating society and in trying to hopefully raise a reasonably good society. And when people are of an age and of an ability to understand, then they should be allowed to see things. I mean, I remember when I was in college, there was a photo exhibit, a photo at a gallery, and it was in Cincinnati, and it was this photographer named Robert Mapplethorpe. Don't know if you've ever heard of this guy.
I've heard the name.
But he did black and white photography, which when I was in college and early on out of college, I was really into photography, and I would do black and white, develop my own film. And so I was kind of into that as like an art medium. And he was doing this exhibit, and it was really controversial. And I was like, oh, I want to go see it. And I mean, he was gay, and some of the imagery was totally, just lots of gay sex, not really pornographic, but on the edge of pornographic. But it was also really, like, the depictions were what most people would say were very derogatory of the church, not just Catholic, but of church Christianity in general. Mm-hmm. And I just remember thinking, I was raised Catholic. I went to Catholic school. I was pretty indoctrinated. I just remember thinking, wow, I'm really shocked by this. That was one thought I had. But another one was, what an amazing use of medium that it can invoke this visceral emotional response from me. And it's, what we've talked about on the positive, like you've talked about being at a show or seeing a band or being in an art gallery or being in a museum and seeing a thing and just being completely engrossed emotionally because of this presentation. And that's where it was for this. Now, I will say it was moved to a point of shock, not necessarily what I would say was, oh, this is a real positive thing. But I don't want censorship to prevent me, when I was 20, 21, from seeing that. I chose to go to that museum. I chose to see those things. I don't want someone saying, nope, can't do that. Can't show those pictures. That might offend some Christians or that might offend some heterosexual people.
Do you think there's a responsibility to the artist and the people doing that exhibit to make sure people know what they're coming into to some extent?
To inform, yes. To restrict, no.
Yeah, just to inform, yeah.
Because, I wouldn't want to have gone there with my 10-year-old. Right. Oh, there's a photo exhibit. We both like photography. Let's go see this exhibit. Yeah. That's not. Yeah. But again, sadly, I think a lot of citizens don't want to be informed. They sure don't seem to want to be informed. They just seem to want to gravitate toward a extreme and make that argument.
Yeah.
So.
And speaking of informed.
Okay.
A big topic nowadays on the internet is misinformation.
Okay.
And, I think, it makes me think of Facebook. I know, I can't think of his name now. Who's the Facebook guy?
Zuckerberg?
Yeah. So, he initially, he went out and hired a bunch of third-party companies to find what was considered misinformation, false information, and delete it, and caught all kinds of hell. That wasn't too long ago. I'd say, I mean, a couple years ago, I guess.
Right.
And then he said, okay, we'll just go the other way. And I don't know what, he redrew the line or whatever. I don't know exactly what happened. But, how does that play out in the world of internet, where anybody can publish anything they want and get millions of viewers right off with misinformation? It's the same. Just like we talk about the line with censorship. Who decides what is misinformation, and how do we know? Because there's been a lot. There's a lot of times things start out as something that might be categorized as false, and then you find out they're true.
Right. Yeah. It's I thought about this earlier when you were talking. I can't remember what we were getting into, but it seems that a big thing in the tech world, and I'm not in the tech world, so I can't really speak too intelligently about this, but I have a good friend that is this idea of crowdsourcing, that they believe that with enough people contributing to the conversation, the truth will rise to the surface, or the best version will rise to the surface. Like, I guess a common example is the software app Waze.
Yeah.
You use that for navigation. Yeah. Like Waze is crowdsourced. I mean, it's people saying, hey, there's a wreck on I-71. You might want to avoid this, or there's this or that. And the idea is that will populate the site, and the site will then reflect the best information. And I feel as if that's what a lot of tech people believe about censorship. Like, oh, we don't need to regulate it because the people will regulate what needs to happen and what should happen and what should or shouldn't be posted or should or shouldn't be allowed.
But I think the engagement piece is what blows that out of the water.
I agree.
It's all about engagement. If I'm a flat earther, and I'm looking for evidence that the earth is flat, I'm going to be fed all that through the algorithms because I watch all those videos. So
just for the record, you're not a flat earther.
No. No. Thank you for clarifying that. I was just using that as an example. But anything, so that engagement piece with the entire basis of social media being give people what they want to see.
Yeah.
You're not going to have that crowdsourcing because you're only going to get your feed from a certain crowd that thinks like you.
Right. The crowdsource, and this kind of, so in my mind, and maybe I'm off base, but help me out here. The fundamental basis of a need for censorship is we believe there is a public good and there needs to be some guardrails on that public good. Similarly, we believe there is a public good, and crowdsourcing, whether that public good is the most efficient software as it relates to getting, from Louisville to Lexington or Carson to Bismarck or wherever you're going, or the best version of the truth behind a story, a news story or an entertainment story or whatever. We believe the public good will be served by the most exposure and the most input. The problem is the input is so easily manipulated by the algorithms and by the engagement models and all of those things, which just create volumes and volumes of contributions, which are not really about the public good.
Yeah.
It'd be just like if your Waze was controlled by people who drove 90 miles an hour, or your Waze was the majority contributor on Waze were police officers setting up a speed trap. If those two forces are the predominant influencers on the product, the information that you get is going to be, I got to drive 90, or, no reason to worry about getting a ticket here. There's no police for thousands of miles. Well, guess what? That's a lie. But I get your point that in both cases, if these sort of nefarious or people with nefarious intent are part of the source of information, the product's not going to be, it's not going to achieve its goal.
Yeah, because it's set up to give you what you already believe and want to see.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go ahead and bring Chris in because I think we're past our time limit. But there's one more thing we didn't even get into is like AI-generated content and deep fakes. And by the way, did you see that the first full-length movie has been made by AI?
No.
I saw it cost $2,000.
Wow.
I'm trying to think of the name of it. I wish I'd have written it down. But yeah, look it up. First AI full length movie is now out there.
I saw an entertainment. Hey, Chris.
What's going on, guys?
I saw an entertainment reporter, we'll call her, for New York Times interviewed an AI actress.
Yeah.
Like the whole interview was with this woman who was totally AI generated.
Did she take it serious? Was it like a real interview?
Yeah. I mean, she said like how she pointed out how some of the comments she made were, she said she was kind of snarky and the kind of responses that you would expect from somebody that was 25, like an actress that was
it's creepy, man. It's cringy.
It is.
Yeah.
It's freaky.
I will say I have looked into some Scott Schneider for President T-shirts, and I think we're going to have some of those made. And if we want to skip this
podcast where you try to pressure me into committing, saying if I'm running or not.
But you're still working, Chris. You better not support him on the internet.
Yeah. That's right. Well, I mean, what about if you ran for school board? That's more serious, but maybe we can talk about that later. So here's a question just to kind of continue the one more discussion point that I wanted you guys to get to. Very novel before we get into some funnies and some additional information. Let me ask you, what do you think about like bumper stickers on cars that have F words and all the stuff? I mean, you see crazy bumper stickers that in the last 10 years, you didn't see them before 10 years ago. And now they're all over the place. So, growing up, I wonder how I would have handled that. My youngest is 23 years old. So we're past that. But 10, 15 years ago, all the just crazy things you see on bumper stickers. What do you think about that? That's definitely no censorship going on there.
Yeah, to me, I put it in the we've lost a sense of civility. It's just not appropriate that I would have to explain to a 4-year-old what that means.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not appropriate. I mean, it goes back to my argument about there's a reason my kids didn't watch The Godfather when they were 12. There's a reason they didn't watch other great movies that were R-rated, Quentin Tarantino movies. They weren't watching Pulp Fiction when they were 12. It doesn't mean Pulp Fiction's not a greit movie, but it's not something a 12-year-old needs to see.
Pulp Fiction makes you feel some kind of way when you get done watching it, though.
if Louisville Metro put it out, it was going to they were going to ban those kind of bumper stickers. Would you be for that censorship or not?
Well, I mean, you get to that same thing. What kind of bumper stickers?
Yeah.
Right. They put the words out there.
I mean, is it going to just be the little cartoon character that's pissing on the Ford emblem? No, but is it?
I don't think that's it. Well, I mean, that's just kind of where you get into the censorship. There's always a line that you're teetering on as to what's appropriate and what's not, and who gets to decide that is always the big thing on censorship.
That's the thing,
Hey,
and then you get into, you get into, people can make themselves look like they have good intentions when sometimes they don't.
I mean, you think here has a problem with the F on the bumper stickers?
Hey,
no, man.
I almost brought Eric up when we were talking about self-censorship because as colorful as his language is, and it's great. He's hey, we all love Eric, so he's a great guy.
Oh yeah.
But he self-censors. When we were around, when he would come around, we always hung around a lot when our kids were young. He didn't talk like that, or till the kids got at least 8.
Yeah. He's a classic. But yeah, that's one guy. That's true. He could censor it. Well, he did keep a job for 30-something years. So yeah. Definitely.
To the point, I never knew that about Garrick.
Oh, well, there you go.
I never knew that Garrick had particularly raunchy language.
He's a master. He is a master of the F word. He can use it in all forms.
Yeah. That's a skill. I mean, that is a skill.
Hey, I have been golfing with him, and I've heard him drop the F-bomb 5 times in one sentence.
That's the truth. That is the truth.
To me, that says more about golf than Garrett personally.
Well, here we go. So just a few. I enjoyed the conversation. I like when you guys are talking, and it causes me to think a little bit about where I stand on certain issues. So it did that today. It was pretty heavy. Pretty heavy today. Now, I will say, though, as heavy as it was, we managed to keep the Nazi streak alive and the Bruce Springsteen streak alive. So that's great. We even got into book burning. Like, we talked about book burning. But and the Nazis came later. So this is just amazing how we're going to have to do something on Nazis, I guess. I don't know. And here's some cool stuff on the Devil's Chord. A couple of the songs that you may know. Purple Haze and Enter Sandman feature the Devil's Chord.
Yeah. So what is it a certain what did you find a description of the Devil's Chord, or what is it?
I think it's the 147.
Okay.
Is that right, Chris?
I do have it. Yeah, let's see. I have it right here. It's an interval spanning exactly 3 whole tones, like the distance between C and F sharp. Because it splits the octave exactly in half, it creates a highly unstable, intense, and unresolved sound. It actually talks about it during the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, that's what Evan said. It came up in the Middle Ages, that it was banned in a lot of French churches.
The first credit I saw as far as using the Devil's Chord was Jimi Hendrix in '67. He has some Black Sabbath and of course Metallica. So I just thought that was cool. What a perfect name for something like that. If the Catholic Church bans it, that was good stuff. And because you guys were all over the place, you talked about guns, revolutions, witchcraft. The Bridal March got mentioned, which is interesting because my youngest is getting married next Sunday in a week and a half, which is crazy, but true. And we're glad to have MJ Marley into the family. But also, Scott,
yes,
I got to say, I love the fact when you said the horse is out of the barn. Hey, okay. We do all know what that means. But just minutes later, you followed up with the statement, there was a lot of gay sex. And I just thought, what a combo. This guy has, there's nothing he doesn't say. He knows all the spectrum. There's no spectrum when you're with Scott Snyder. You never know what you're going to hear. And here's one more thing for you. We talked about the Comstock Act that has some censorship in it of 1872, I believe. There was a Tariff Act of 1842. That's the first time Congress granted power to censor incoming goods. And this was mostly based on incoming prints and paintings that had some lewd stuff on it. So the first time Congress censored anything, it was on imports. Now, domestically with the books, it was the Comstock. So I thought that was interesting. Also, let me say this. You guys talked about Evan being in that class where they're talking about social media. And the guy who's got the pulse on today's teenagers, let me tell you, they need it. It's a good thing to continue because we assume that what to self-censor and what not to self-censor. They do not know. And then with AI coming in all the more, it's probably a good idea to have some nice discussions in class. And Evan may be fine, but he grew up probably in a house that taught him a little bit. But I'm just telling you, probably a good idea to talk about social media rather than not and have someone lose their job in the first couple of years. But,
so let me ask you how you feel about this.
Guys.
So I think, I may not have the country right, but I think Denmark just banned social media for 15 and under. What do you think of that?
I don't know. I mean, I'm the old guy on the outside looking in. I want to say that's a good thing.
I don't know. How would you keep it? I mean, how would you do that?
So I would have said 12 and under. But it's a line thing, But
it's true.
But I think once you get into high school, you probably need to start learning how to navigate these platforms.
Here you go. But here, let me get on Denmark. I was able to type this up. This is a whole another podcast. It says, instead of relying on easily bypassed honor system where kids just type in a fake birth year, Denmark is backing the law up with biometric and digital age verification technology. Big brother.
Ooh, Big Brother. No doubt. Yeah, we didn't even get into that, the Big Brother aspect of this. 1984.
You know, it's the one thing that I kind of realized listening to you guys talk, this is a big topic. We didn't go to a lot of places. There would have been a lot of specific examples that would have been interesting to discuss. I'm glad you brought up, I think it was the 2 Live Crew. I remember that coming out and their stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, here we go. And, you know, it's kind of worked to expand as far as having a lot of stuff censored. And, you know, if you do the top 100 pop songs on Spotify or whatever from Billboard, and you have your explicit language blocked, you're going to hear.
You buzzed out there, Chris.
Your internet's freezing up there on top of the hill.
I did come up with some next week topics.
Your internet
you're freezing up there. You said
your internet froze up there on the hill, man.
That's all we got. What did you say?
Well,
yeah,
it's always the worst freeze. One eye open, one eye closed. Hopefully, it'll make one of our 15 viewers and listeners laugh.
Well, you know, you're talking about specific examples when we're talking about misinformation. I almost I considered bringing up Edward Snowden.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know, everything was denied at first, and then, hey, well, maybe he had a few things he said was right.
I think he did.
Yeah, maybe, might be. I don't know. Maybe. Well, could have been. I wasn't aware. Cannot recall. You know, things like that. Yeah.
Oh man, now we're gonna get banned. Now they're gonna ban us, man. We're gonna go from 50 listeners to 2.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mom.
It's okay.
Man.
You gotta push the envelope sometimes.
Actually, my mom, she doesn't listen, so it doesn't help. So, hey, I did come up with. I had 3 tangents, and I was trying to keep it at 3. I wanted to keep it at 3, but the last one, you guys just kept pushing it, and I said, that's definitely a tangent we have to go with, and plus, it was a good one. So we have 4 tangents. 3 of them kind of heavy, 1 of them very light, but would be fun. You guys ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, Scott, we started, of course, talking about the Devil's Cord, a little bit of the Catholic Church and how the censorship went on there. And this one would be a good opportunity to maybe find a guest. But what if we did one on musical history? And you could just say if we wanted to go from the 1950s on, but we have some people that would maybe be good to bring on, but just talk about musical history. And there's your opportunity to get some Bruce Springsteen in, but you could go so many ways because it branches off. But that one, okay, not real heavy, it's very light.
Bruce Springsteen is the pinnacle of the history.
No, it's not. I keep throwing you fastballs right down the middle, Scott, just in case. If you ever want it, it's there.
Here's what I'm going to say. I'm not going to say this absolutely, but if we can get Bruce Springsteen to be on the pod, then
all right,
I'll invite him.
You put your connection.
Can always invite. Okay, so the next one is, this one came up because we were talking about video games, and we talked about some movies, and it led me back to parenting and how different it is to parent like today. So I have, my kids from 23 to 33, and no grandkids yet, but they're going to pop them out, right? So it's going to be such a different time to be a parent. So what if you talked about parenting and parenting over the decades? And here we talked about video games. Get this. Here's some stats on video games. Video games, $197 billion. That is more than the movie industry, the global box office, and all recorded music combined. You add global box office, recorded music combined at video games, way more. Here's something that's going to blow your mind. Global sports. If you take ticket sales, media rights, sponsorships, if you took the NFL, NBA, Premier League, F1, combined them, that's $180 billion. Games, video games, $197 billion industry.
Wow.
Amazing. Because think about it, it's not just on the consoles anymore. It's on your phone. It's everywhere you go. The New York Times is doing games.
Do you guys play video games?
Gaming. I'll play a couple on my phone when I have to pass some time. And
so you don't have a PlayStation or an Xbox?
No.
Or
I never find that's what I want to do with my time.
We have all those. I've tried, and I'm terrible at it. We got a PS5, and I had a hard time learning to do Astrobot, which is the game you play to learn how to use the controller.
I played about 2 hours of video games before we started tonight.
Really?
Yeah. I got an Xbox. I enjoy it. I mean, it's it's relaxing to me, and I get on there and just play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what type of games? What do you play?
I play different things. Like what I played this afternoon is a game called Arc Raiders. It's basically the world's been taken over by robots, and you got to go. You live underground. You got to go to the surface, and they give you these little quests, and you go and complete them. And the reason, you talked about player-on-player shoot-up games. So this game, what I like about this is I don't like to compete with other players. Shoot 'em up. And if you go on there, they recognize that you don't kill other players and stuff. So they put you in with other players that like to play like you do. So we're all just out there trying to complete these quests. We're not trying to shoot at each other.
Well, that's good.
It's an interactive though. You're playing with other people, huh?
Yeah, and you got a microphone. You talk to people.
Maybe that's what living in North Dakota does to you. You just have to. You got to talk to somebody. I don't know.
That's a little harsh. Wow.
Come on, Scott, you're piling on. I'm just saying.
All our North Dakota listeners hate you now.
Hey, what if they're at Burger King while they're listening, though? I don't know.
There's no Burger King in Carson.
Well, is there any fast food?
Well, probably no.
Like, what do you got?
Not in Carson.
DQ won't even come. So that was about parenting. Video games, it just would be one flames. But parenting over the years and parenting going forward, right? We don't know much about parenting going forward as far as having a newborn going from there, but be an interesting thing to talk about. 3, social responsibility. So how has social responsibility changed? From the incident of, standing in line at a store and you see this happening. What's your responsibility in 1970, in 1980, in 1990, today? How's that changed? But social responsibility, it kind of continues the theme of the last couple of weeks, but that kind of makes sense. And then this is the last one that I couldn't keep off because you guys were like, man, you had my brain going here on misinformation. And here's kind of where I went with that. I first thought about Tia's $1 house and how people were just taking that, using that, and for straight up money. It was, of course, misinformation as to who they were and what they were doing, that they were Tia. But misinformation,
fake accounts. You talking about fake accounts?
Yeah. And because I saw them, when she was doing that on TikTok, and especially, and I'm like, man, this is definitely not Tia. I know what her account looks like. So, and what about how much of a problem can it cause? I mean, here's the thing. How much has it already changed you? Because when you hear something, you are automatically, I do go, well, I hear it, but I don't know if it's true.
Yeah. True.
I don't know if it's true. You used to have an innocence about you when you turned on the news or when you read something in the paper or when it was reported that you just believed it. And now I think I wouldn't call it myself cynical, but I'm cautious. And where does this go going forward?
And you're talking about how that's not good and how that's not a good change. But what about the other side of it and the number of people that believe the last thing they read?
Yeah.
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 And it goes into algorithms a little bit. If you rely, if you get your news from a social media place, then, it's going to be tough to be reliable. But how much of a problem can this cause, misinformation globally? I mean, globally, let alone in your life. So misinformation, and people are out there doing it intentionally. It's not innocent. So the 4, music history, just be fun, talk about music history, blah, blah, blah. 2, parenting, especially talking about video games, from video games to how late can they stay up to schooling and homeschool that we could get into and definitely talk with some expertise from private to parochial to public schools, all the things that come with parenting. 3, the social responsibility over the decades. How's that changed because of societal change, as far as your social responsibility. And then the 4th one, misinformation. It's out there. It's coming. It's going to happen. It looks real with AI. You can see a video that looks as real as can be. So of those 4, what do you guys think? Those were your tangents that I kind of came up with.
All right, I'm going to veer. All right.
Okay.
Because I really like the music history.
All right.
But then it made me think, we've been pretty heavy the past few weeks.
Yeah.
So I started thinking about, what if we come in and we just have a podcast about our favorite music? And I was thinking,
oh my goodness.
I was just writing down, okay. And Chris, I think you should join us full time on this one. All right, so I've been writing. I don't know if y'all saw me writing the whole time. You're thinking, let me see what you think of this. And you guys feel free to shoot it down. But number 1, the first record, album, music, whatever it is, that you remember as a kid. Like your parents always played it, or you thought this is cool. First one you ever remember as being important to you as a kid.
Got it.
Number 2, your favorite album till this day. It's been with you through whatever. And number 3, your favorite album, artist, whatever it might be, that you really didn't understand or didn't get into or didn't really like until you got older.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Or, yeah, I like that a lot. And
Okay.
I want to go with another one.
Okay.
An artist that you used to love.
Okay. Used to, and now you don't.
Used to.
I guess.
And
is the
as you've
second part
gotten
of that.
older,
Okay.
it's just kind of, because I got one in my mind that I'm just like, why don't I like that band anymore? I used to love that band. It's not that they're a bad band. It's just what's happened.
So the third one then, instead of somebody you've come to like as an adult, will be, how has your music changed as you've gotten older? Music taste, right?
Okay. Yeah, that covers both of those. Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. I think that's fun. I agree with you. We've been kind of heavy. I'm going to throw in, we got a grade tonight, by the way. We haven't graded.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like music, the music. Musical taste.
Yeah, man. How do we grade? So I'm going to grade it as how we've done. I was just thinking B-. Are
you just thinking B- and you're going to make it a descriptor so it can be a B-, or is it just coming?
Well, I don't think we've done a great job with it because I think it's so hard, and it's gotten more complicated with the internet because now, we're trying to censor by world standards and world culture and world beliefs, so I'm going to, we've got a long way to go. So I'm going to say D.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm a D. A solid D, because I think more harm than good has come from censorship.
Yeah.
Yeah. And well, I think it's hard to have a balance right now, right? Because historically wise, how fast information revolution is happening. It's not how fast things usually happen. It usually happens it takes way longer for such drastic changes. So I give it a D as well, is what I was thinking, because we have not done a good job of keeping a balance. And it's almost maybe it's impossible to expect that with censorship because of how it's changed. And now you really can't control it. You used to be able to get all your media from a certain spot. You could control the radios, you could control the television. So, there's such a change, but we haven't done a great job. Yeah. D all the way.
Yeah. All right. Well, you just said this, and it reminded me of a great book I read a bit ago. It's called Thanks for Making Me Wait. It's written by this guy, Thomas Friedman. And it gets at this idea that we are in a world of accelerators. Just kind of what you were talking about, Chris. Like things are changing so quickly.
Yeah.
Is this the Thomas Friedman that actually helped build the nuclear bomb? Or is this a different Friedman? Or maybe I got it mixed up.
I don't know about Thomas Friedman and the nuclear bomb. I'm not. There may have been. I don't know that name. No, he's the guy that wrote the book "The World Is Flat."
Okay.
How globalization is affecting the world. But I will throw this part out there. The one chapter that he talks about, which I think we can all identify with, there was a time when you went to fill in the blank. You go to a Cubs game. I go to a Reds game. You go to a Brewers game. Whatever game you go to. It doesn't have to be baseball. The guy that owned the company, the guy who worked on the line, and the guy who swept the floor all sat in the same seats. That's not true anymore.
Yeah.
They all ate the same hot dogs. They all complained about the dump. They all drank the same beer. That's not true anymore. And he talks about how we have accelerated just that socialization experiment or experience to a place where it's all corporate boxes, and you go to the game and you watch it in an air-conditioned booth and you eat catered food, and the guy who sweeps the floor at the factory, he may or may not even be able to afford a ticket. He sure as hell's not bringing his whole family. And I just thought that was such a telling vignette about how fast things have changed and where we are now. So anyway, whatever. Totally another podcast, probably. But you said that and it reminded me of it, Chris. I wanted to throw
that would be a good one. I have to try to sneak the wealth, condensed wealth is definitely changing with all this. Yeah.
All right. So next week,
I can't wait to find out if Scott's favorite album is a Bruce Springsteen album.
Really?
See, now I got to work at coming up with not one that's not Springsteen.
Now you be you, man. This
I'm
is
gonna be
expertise.
me. I'm gonna be me. But
Scott,
are we gonna do albums or songs? You want to do albums?
I want to do albums.
Okay, let's do albums.
I'm an album guy. I still believe in the continuity of the artistic expression across 8 to 12 songs.
Albums or artists? Yeah, we'll do. You can either do albums or artists. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go larger than one song. Yeah. We don't want any one-hit wonders.
Well, I'd say we'll have some communication this week as to all the various questions and topics we'll run through.
No, that's not allowed.
Yeah,
you just listed them.
Some music.
We're just
talking about. What's our generic?
All right, so we're gonna do number one. First album that was important to you, or artist that you remember, like, I'm thinking childhood.
I don't want you to enumerate the questions. I want you to make like a general overview. Next week's topic is music of importance.
Yes.
Music of importance.
Yes. Okay. Music that has impacted us over our life.
Okay.
But I do think I'd like to hear the last. All right. Okay. Let's leave it at that. I'm trying to narrow it down too much. I like the idea of how it's changed over time. What we've come to appreciate as adults.
Yeah.
But
okay. No, I'm down. Get there.
Okay. So how about this? Can we do it this way? Childhood favorite adult.
Okay.
How's that?
That sounds good.
All right. All right, guys.
All right. Thanks for listening, all 8 of you. We appreciate it.
And I hope. Oh hell no! We had 59 last week.
Let's go.
Whoa! Because we're such bastions of morality.
We got to hit triple numbers.
So somebody needs to tell Bruce to listen next week.
All right.
It's going to be amazing.
The tour's winding down. He's got some free time. I'm just saying.
Okay. Well, you may as well send him a text or a fax, whatever he likes.
Thanks for listening. I hope that whatever that buzz was not too distracting. We'll see you guys next week.
Hopefully we'll take it. All right. See y'all. Thanks.